LeBron's statement yesterday when told that he is receiving criticism because in the real-time moment captured by the NBA entertainment cameras after the all-time rock pull by J.R. Smith and prior to starting the overtime, LeBron James just went down a rabbit hole in which he could not believe the misfortune that J.R. Smith had just brought on everybody, as well as perhaps his coach, because he wanted to find out how many timeouts there were, and it had confirmed to him that this could have been stopped with a timeout. That criticism, his response was, hey, I'm in the NBA Finals. How much more can I carry my teammates? How did that sit with everybody, Dave?
Tristan Thompson, I spoke to him about this specifically, and he said, one, there's always the camera on LeBron more so than anybody else, and we've all had these moments that the world doesn't see. Two, he's allowed to have that moment of raw frustration. We can pick him up in that moment. It's not always on him to pick us up. He had 49 points at that point of the game. What more can he do? And that's what you did see. You saw Jeff Green kind of, cradle LeBron's head and get in his ear. You saw Kyle Korver clapping his hands, trying to create some positive energy in that huddle. That's okay. LeBron James doesn't have to do everything, including selling the popcorn at the arena for the Cavs. Sometimes the non-bronze, I love that term. I haven't seen it yet. I love that term you mentioned. Sometimes the non-bronze can carry that load. Actually, I think it's much more healthy for the Cavs team when they do so. So I understand the look of dejection on LeBron's face is remarkable, and that's something that's going to be stick with people's heads along with everything else, the missed free throw and J.R. Smith dribbling out to the three-point line. But it's not his job to also always set the mental tone for the Cavs. There's other players there who are professionals who can carry that weight.
Is there any heat on Ty Lue in Cleveland for not calling the timeout, even though he's in a very geographically unsound position to get somebody's attention to do it?
Yeah, some people have brought that up, but, I mean, you're talking him being close to 50 feet away from the play, opposite end of the court, less than 5 seconds to go. The assumption when your player grabs the offensive rebound in the paint and it's a tied game that he's going to go up with it. And then the next assumption is when he starts to take it out to the three-point line, he's going to shoot a three, because that's just what JR does. At that point, maybe you could have said that 0.9 seconds left, he should have been on the floor just like LeBron was calling timeout. But LeBron was on the court, 0.9 seconds left, feet away from Ed Malloy. And if LeBron can't get the timeout call there, what hope does Ty Lue have getting the call 50 feet away?
Couple more minutes with Dave McMenamin here on the Rich Eisen Show, part of the Honda Insider segment from ESPN. So tell me if I'm reading too much into this. LeBron sit down with Rachel Nichols, and she asks him about his relationship with Dan Gilbert, and we saw he basically just breezed right by him like he was in the HOV lane for the Eastern Conference Finals championship ceremony, the trophy presentation ceremony. And LeBron's response, Dave, was, we'll see when it comes down to leaving on July 1 or his free agency decision. And then hearing him yesterday basically saying, we're at the NBA Finals. How much more can I carry, my teammates? That these two, really those responses give a glimpse into him thinking, I'm not really a fan of the owner, and I'm not a fan of the roster. You mentioned Rodney Hood, Clarkson. These guys that were brought in mid-February have not panned out here in June. What do you think? Right. Am I connecting dots here that are appropriate?
No, actually, I don't think you're reading too into much at all. I just want to give a quick context on two things there. Sure. One, he also said that he has a great working relationship with Dan Gilbert, and there was a private moment not caught on camera in the locker room after Game 7 between Dan and LeBron, and also Dan and Rich Paul. So, as icy as that relationship has been, it has a level of civility right now. That said, he does not make those comments to Dan Gilbert about Dan Gilbert to Rachel with, it just coming off the top of his head. LeBron James is very calculated in his messaging. And on the eve of the NBA Finals, he wanted it to be known that he was not a fan of the Kyrie Irving trade, on the record for the first time. The day of the NBA Finals, Dan Gilbert puts out a series of tweets, including complimenting Kobe Altman, the rookie GM, for not only the midseason trades that they made, but for the Kyrie Irving trade, saying that we wouldn't be where we are had we not made that trade. So that is some public wrangling between LeBron James and Dan Gilbert trying to position themselves on who was right about the Kyrie Irving trade, with the biggest game of the Cavs season coming up in just hours. And that is where there is something to point to, that as much as they have been able to work together over the last 4 years, there is a level of mistrust that exists all the way back to the decision in 2010.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.